Have you ever seen a house sitting on the market for weeks or maybe even months and thought, what is wrong with this house? Well, you're not alone. Many people out there looking to buy a house in San Antonio, especially in today's current market environment, have thought the same thing when they are looking at these homes that are sitting for weeks and even months on end. But if you overlook these homes, you could be missing out on a great deal. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing information with you on why homes sit on the market for a long time, things that you should look out for when spotting some opportunities on these homes, questions you should ask before making an offer, and how you can use this in your favor whenever you negotiate and make offers on these homes out there. So stick around, we've got a lot of information to cover. But if we have not met yet, my name is Brock and I help folks just like you buy and sell homes all over San Antonio and the surrounding areas. So if you happen to be looking for a house here in the San Antonio area, please do not hesitate to reach out. I've got all my contact information down below and I would love to be a resource for you, answer any questions you have, and more importantly, help you and your family find that perfect house that you guys have been looking for. So with all of that out of the way, we do have a lot of information to get to here. So let's dive on into all of the fun, juicy details right here. Well, let's first start off with why homes are sitting on the market in the first place. And the biggest reason I see a lot of these homes sit on the market for quite a while is the fact that they are just overpriced. This is the number one and the most common reason out there that these homes just don't sell. I mean, of course, no one wants to overpay for a house. They might also see that this home is also overpriced compared to its peers in the area. In a lot of cases, these sellers have emotions tied into the house, and that can play a factor into why it may be overpriced in the first place. They might have seen their little kids or maybe their grandkids or maybe have some fond memories with, the many years that they may have lived in the house. I mean, I've seen people live in houses for 5 years, 10 years, and even up to 45 and 50 years plus in some of these homes. You can imagine the longer amount of time you stay in this house, the more memories you have, whether it's your own kids, the grandkids, or something else, where maybe little Timmy made their first steps, or maybe the first grandchild was brought into the family. Whatever the case may be, there are emotions often tied up into the house. And so this leads homeowners to believe that their house is actually worth more than it might be because of their memories. But let's face it, if you are going to buy a house from someone else, you don't have those memories, so that perceived value is not there for you because that is someone else's memory to have. In a lot of cases too, sometimes agents just don't look at the right comparable sales in the area. Using the wrong homes for sale might inflate the price, or maybe if they exclude homes that are supposed to be really close-knit comparable sales to this house that you're looking at, maybe those prices are just not the same anymore because it has different features or different amenities within the house that your house that you're looking at doesn't have. Outside of this, sometimes these comps can be older. So if you're looking at homes that sold a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe the prices of houses were different at that time point than they are in today's market whenever you are looking to buy this house, and that leads to the pricing of that house being incorrect. And sometimes these homeowners too just have some unrealistic expectations with their house because of their memories or their thoughts of what the market should be, or maybe they're thinking back to a past market when prices of homes were a little bit better or there was more competition. Maybe this leads a homeowner to believe that they should list it for a higher price, thinking that they will get a higher price than that from someone who's looking to buy the house. Or maybe they'll think, hey, we'll list it a little bit higher, knowing that someone's going to come in and undercut us and offer us a lower price, and we'll get the price that we want. So there's a lot of different reasons why someone might price a house higher. Usually it leads to a house just sitting a little bit longer on the market. Another big reason why I see some of these homes sit for a long time in the market is poor marketing. And the biggest marketing issue I see has to come with the photos that are taken for the house. I don't even know how many times I've seen a house that is listed for sale, and you can clearly tell that the agent who had the photos done used their phone to do so. You can tell based on the orientation of the photo. Maybe the photos are very blurry, maybe you're looking at a corner, and even maybe someone is in the photo. I've quite literally seen houses for sale where someone is in the bathroom and you can clearly see them in the mirror. And even worse, I've literally seen someone sitting on the couch watching TV in their living room, and that was a photo that was online to represent this house for sale. Whenever I am working with folks, and even when I'm looking for houses myself, if I don't see, some really eye-catching photos in the first maybe 5 to 7 photos, most people tend to look at the very next house. And so it's very imperative that, people have really good photos taken of the house. And if you're like me, if you don't see anything attractive, or the photos are blurry, or just maybe there's not enough photos, right? That's another thing I've seen, is maybe there's only like 3 or 4 or 10 photos. It's not really capturing the whole house to see. It can really lead someone to move on to the next house. But this could be a hidden gem for you if you're willing to say, hey, you know what? Maybe the photos aren't the best, but let's go take a look at this house, because seeing a house in person is of course going to give you the full picture and you're going to see the entire house. Outside of just photos on the marketing, maybe it's just not marketed to all of the different third-party websites out there, or maybe there's not enough enough ads ran on it. There's a number of different things that someone can do to market a house for sale. And so maybe it just doesn't have the right amount of exposure to get in front of the most amount of people who are looking to buy a house, including yourself out there. So if you don't see it on all those sites, how can you know it's for sale, leading to a higher days on market? Another reason some of these homes sit for a long time on the market is due to some cosmetic issues. And these are not major issues, but maybe the house is a little outdated. Maybe you can tell it was built in the 90s or even 80s, right? There's different number of things that you can kind of pinpoint a different time period from when a house was built and kind of say, hey, this was popular during this time frame, and so it's just a little outdated compared to today's style and market. Maybe the paint needs to be refreshed. Maybe the carpet is, disgusting and needs to be replaced. Maybe there's a little bit of landscaping work because it's overgrown and it just doesn't look great. There's a number of small things that can be easily taken care of that could turn off a buyer from wanting to look at the house. Let's face it, if you see a house with disgusting carpet, maybe the paint needs to be touched up, maybe the yard is overgrown and the bushes are really out of control, a lot of people aren't going to want to go look at it just because they have that perception of, hey, this looks like it needs a lot of work and I really don't want to do that. I really just want to move into a house and, enjoy the house itself. So cosmetic issues could be a reason why a house is sitting forever. And the final reason I want to share with you on why some of these homes sit for a while is just due to the bad timing, right? Usually during the winter time of like November to February is our typical slow time in the real estate market. So if you list a house in like October, you're hitting right before that slow season starts, because a lot of people don't want to buy a house during the holidays because it's a little bit cooler outside. That maybe they have kids that are in school and they don't want to move them during the school year. Of course, the holidays have a lot of financial, stress around them already with, the gifts and travel and, seeing other family. And on top of that, it's just the holidays. A lot of people don't want to be moving when they'd rather be enjoying the holidays, enjoying time with their friends and families and everyone else that matters to them. So this could be a bad time to, list a house. And of course, too, back to school is also a kind of another time period that we start to see home sales start to slow down a little bit, because again, most parents don't want to move their kids during the middle of the school year. Whatever the reason may be, maybe they're just bad timing and this adds to the days on markets, and it just kind of leads to some momentum that doesn't really ever catch back up to the house because, let's face it, they're getting into a bad timing and it just sits there with minimal traffic and activity on the house, and it just adds to those days as the house continues to sit there for sale. Now that we know why homes can sit on the market for a while, let's start talking about how you can spot an opportunity that could be a great deal for you if you're looking to buy a house. The first thing I want you guys to be looking out there for is price reductions. Now, if a homeowner has already been sitting on the market for an amount of time, whether it's a few weeks or a few months, and this could be a key indicator that they are open to negotiating further on the price. Sometimes price reductions may be small of like $1,000 or $2,000, and in other cases I've seen price reductions of tens of thousands of dollars or even multiple tens of thousands of dollars, of course depending on the price and the condition of the home. The next thing you can look for is the seller motivation. Now, a homeowner will decide to sell their house for any number of reasons. One of the most common ones is job relocation, right? So maybe someone got a promotion at work, or maybe they need to move to a different office location for their employment. And so this can be a reason why they want to sell their house. And it could be a big indicator that they need to sell their house fast and they are ready or more willing at least to negotiate with you on things in the house. Another key indicator could be some life changes. Maybe there's been an addition to the family and they need an extra bedroom, whether it's a child or maybe an aging parent that needs to move into the house. Maybe their children have all grown and moved out of the house, and so now they have too much space on their hands and they want to downsize. Or maybe there's some other life event that happens where now they need to move into another house. These could all be really good indicators of some motivation for you, and could be a really good way for you to, again, negotiate. And a big motivator for a lot of people is if you see a vacant house. So if you are looking for homes for sale and you see absolutely no furniture in the house at all, that could be a really good indicator that they are motivated. A vacant house means that they are not living in the house. They do not have, a renter in the house paying their mortgage. And so that is an extra cost to them. And in most cases, they've already purchased a second house. So now they have two mortgages to pay. So it could be another sign of motivation that they are ready to make a deal happen. Now, the next opportunity you can look out for is cosmetic opportunities, right? These are easy things that you can fix if you become the homeowner, but oftentimes a lot of home buyers out there decide to overlook a house because of the cosmetic issues, right? If you're looking at outdated wallpaper, or maybe the cabinets are a little outdated, maybe there needs to just be some easy fixes to refresh the house and bring it back up to the current kind of style and modernization with, the real estate world out there. These could be easy fixes that a lot of people just don't want to deal with. Now, you need to be cognizant of like cosmetic issues versus structural issues with the house. If you see things like the roof needs to be repaired, or there's foundation issues, or maybe there's a big electrical issue that needs to be fixed, or any other big ticket issue like that, maybe you don't have that comfortability and you don't have to go over after this property unless you have have the ability and desire to take on those issues. But oftentimes these kind of cosmetic issues that are easy to fix are often overlooked because most people just don't want to deal with those things. So don't forget to kind of keep those in mind if you're looking for a good deal. And maybe there's some overlooked potential here with maybe the landscaping is a little overgrown like we talked about earlier. That's pretty easy and simple to fix. Maybe a day or two doing the landscaping to trim down the bushes and flower bed, trim the trees back a little bit, whatever it may be. That's something that is fairly easy for most people to do and doesn't take a whole lot of time and money other than some sweat equity there. And that can be really simple to make the house refreshed and make it feel good again. Painting is also another thing that is pretty low cost and easy to do and can really make a house kind of bright and airy and shiny again, and just really make it aesthetically pleasing. Again, don't overlook that little bit of potential there and skip out on these homes. All right, now that we know why homes are sitting on the market longer and how you can spot some really good opportunities out there, what are some questions that you should ask before you even make an offer and start negotiating? The first question you can ask is simply, why has this house been sitting so long? Sometimes it's a very innocent answer related to the timing, right? I know we talked about, listing a house during the holidays. Maybe that is the reason why. Just knowing when it was listed for sale might be a key indicator onto some bad timing there. Other times you'll get an answer that might reveal some issues with the house, right? If you ask the agent who's selling the house, hey, why is this house sitting so long? They might say, well, the roof needs some replacement and there's a little bit of a water leak because of that, and so it's caused some other issues. That could be a key indicator to some other major issues or red flags that other people just don't want to deal with. The next question you can ask is, how many showings has it had and have there been any offers? This can also be a sign of kind of the activity around the house. And if you hear that there have been dozens of people looking at the house and no offers, that could be a key sign that maybe those people who already looked at the house saw something that they didn't like. It could be another red flag for you guys out there. But if you say, hey, there's been a lot of showings and people just didn't like that they needed to paint the house and replace the flooring, that could be right there a really good sign that there's some opportunity for you to move in there and make a really good competitive offer and get a house for a great deal. But it could also again reveal some issues that maybe other people found or didn't like about the house. Now, if you see one of these houses that have been sitting for a while and maybe you see that it's back on market, that could be a sign that it was at one point under contract and it came back to market for one reason or another. So the question you can ask here is, why did the house come back on market? Were there any inspection issues? If you know that someone backed out of the contract and it came back to market, there's got to be a reason why. Sometimes the answer is, again, pretty benign. Maybe the buyer just decided they didn't like the house, or maybe they couldn't qualify financially. Other times, if there was an inspection that was done on the house, maybe the inspection report revealed something that was a major red flag that no one knew about beforehand. Maybe there was something, related to the water heater or an electrical issue or something else that caused that buyer to back out. And if that was a reason, hopefully the agent who is helping sell that house will tell you the reason why, so that you can use that new information to help understand why someone did not want to move forward with the purchase of that house. And of course, if there was an inspection that was done and there was a reason found in that report that the buyer backed out, you could use that as leverage in your negotiations to get an even better deal. Now, the final question you can ask here is, have they already purchased another house? And I know I already touched on that in the last section of the video here. A seller having to pay 2 mortgages could be a pretty big sign of motivation to want to make a deal happen so that they can get the house sold, and this could lead to you having a pretty good deal on your hands at the end of the day. So now that you know a little bit more about the house because you've asked some really good questions here, let's start negotiating this deal. So whenever you see a house that's sitting on a market for a long time, right, longer than the normal out there, you can actually use this to your advantage whenever you're making some offers. Usually the longer a home sits on the market for sale, the less power that a homeowner has on their side to negotiate, and the more power that you have as a buyer in order to make a really good deal. And whenever you're making an offer, you don't have to focus only on the price here. I know a lot of people tend to focus on the price when they're making offers, but there are so many other things you can do in an offer to make it attractive to the seller that's not related to the price. You can use a higher earnest money deposit that shows the seller that you're more serious than other buyers out there. Now, if the house is vacant and it's been sitting on the market for a while and you're able to make this happen in like 2 or 3 weeks, this could be a really good thing for the seller, right? They've already been sitting on the market for sale for an extremely long period of time compared to other homes in the area, and they're ready to move on. So if you can close quickly and move that closing date up a little bit, that could be attractive to the seller and help get your negotiation through. Outside of this, you can ask the seller for some seller credits. There are a number of things you can do with these seller credits, and seller credits is just money that's going from the seller to you as the buyer, right? So if you see something that is outdated on the house, right? Let's say maybe it needs some new paint, maybe some new flooring, and maybe the stove in the kitchen is a little outdated and needs to be replaced. Well, you can use this to your advantage and say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I see that these things are outdated. Can you just give me a credit at closing so that I can take care of them whenever I become the homeowner. More than likely, they don't want to deal with the hassle of, painting or replacing the flooring or even going out to buy a new stove that they're not going to get to enjoy. So they're more than likely to give you, some money at closing so that you can take care of these items. And then some people are overlooking because they don't want to paint and they don't want to replace the floors and they don't want to deal with an old stove. You're getting all these items taken care of whenever you become the owner of the house, and you get that money from the seller to take care of these items, reducing your out-of-pocket expense. You can also ask them to do some of these things. So if you see that the landscaping is a little overgrown and out of control, you can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I would also like you to take care of the landscaping. Just hire a landscaper to do it, and bada bing, bada boom, it's going to look good, and we can move on and make this thing happen. So there are a number of different things you can do there, and you can negotiate and ask the seller to do things or give you seller credit. You can ask for a home warranty in case maybe it's a little outdated and you want to make sure that you have a peace of mind for those systems and components to be covered by a home warranty. And you can again ask them to actually do some of this work and upgrade the house for you, just so that you don't have to worry about doing it and get a really good deal in the process. But when you are making these offers on these homes, make them so that they are still in your best interest. You don't want to give up all these financing contingencies and inspections. Like, you still want to have inspections done on the house. So don't say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we want a really good deal. Here's a lower price. And by the way, can you give us some of your money so that we can update the place when we become the owner? But we're not going to worry about inspection. You still should get a home inspection on the house to make sure that you have a really good picture of the whole house and any issues that may be found from a home inspector. You also, again, want to make sure that there's plenty of time for a lender to get a loan done and all their processes and taken care of if you are having to secure financing for the house. So you don't want to get stuck with a problem property. You don't really want to rush into it if you can avoid it and cause any additional stress to anyone involved in the transaction. So remember to keep your interest in mind here and don't give up everything just to get a really good deal. Because at the end of the day, a stale listing, meaning some house that's been sitting on the market for a while, is more about perception than reality here. Sometimes there are some major issues with the house, but when someone is looking for a house to buy and they see a high days on market, there's already a red flag that kind of pops up and says, hey, something's not quite right here. I'm going to keep moving on because I don't want to deal with the problem. But again, as we touched on, sometimes it's just bad timing, very easy cosmetic issues to fix, or maybe a number of other easy fixes or issues that are not a problem really at all. And if you play your cards right, you can get a really good deal on a house and, build some instant equity into a house, which is always the name of the game here, is having some equity into the house that you own. At the end of the day, some of these homes that have been sitting on the market for a while can be a really fantastic deal, but you also need to make sure that you have a seasoned real estate agent who can help you read between the lines, pick apart the cosmetic versus the big issues versus the small issues on a house that may have some of these issues there, and help you negotiate a fantastic deal. And I've helped several families here in the San Antonio area look at some of these existing homes and find some really good deals out there. So if you have any questions about buying a house, living in San Antonio, or if you just want my help finding that perfect house for you and your family, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I've got all my contact information down below somewhere here, and I would love to be a resource for you and, more importantly, help you guys along your home buying journey there. So with all of that out of the way, I hope you found this video useful. And if you're looking at some of these homes that have higher days on market, don't write them off just yet. Give them a little bit of a chance if it looks like something that could potentially work for you and your family. So thank you for watching this video. If you found some value out of it, if you learned something about buying a house with some high days on market, go ahead and give me a like on this video. Give me that thumbs up. And while you're there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so that you'll be notified the next time that I post a video right here on the YouTube channel. So with that, thanks again for watching the video. I hope you guys have an incredible day, and I can't wait to talk to you guys here soon.